Yes, very good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, my slides are visible.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, sir, your slide is not visible, sir.
Yes. Now, check whether the slides are visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yesterday, Jostana sent a circular regarding the leave from 14th to 18th. And anyone aware about it? What happened?
Yes, so actually we are given 2 days holiday. Uh, we were in our schedule already. We had 3 days holiday, so like from Friday to Sunday, but they add on 2 extra days.
Okay, okay. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, anyway, okay, we'll start our session. In the last class, we were disseminating these content, that is, we were introduced to the photovoltaic effects. And concerning today's class, I request the second set of 10 people to join with us. You please unmute your mic and please join with us till the end. And yes, I request I'll call some people. I think 24 from 24. 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, and 42. You please unmute your mic and please join with us till the end. Arun Prabhakar, Nitish, Gulshan, Hari Prasad.
Yes, sir.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes. At present, we'll start the session. Later, we can discuss the current affairs and the things which you want to discuss. We'll discuss. Right. This is what the content we were disseminated during the last class. That is the base for the solar PV cells and solar photovoltaic, and we'll continue the session. And yes, the PV cell is the basic. We need to understand about the PV in order to understand the solars. That was the base, and solar cells are usually made of two thin pieces of silicons, and silicon be the prominent abundant material in the earth. Concerning the sand, it was the second largest abundant material available in the earth, and one piece of the silicon has a small amount of boron. When it was added with boron, it was converted as an p-type semiconductor. When it was added with the phosphorus, then it will act as an n-type semiconductor. And when we are trying to join these n-type and p-type, and yesterday I have disseminated two videos which give an insight towards the PV cell, solar cell, and the working principle of the solar PV panel. And this is what the when we are adding the boron with the silicon, it will convert as p-type. When we are adding the phosphorus, then it will convert as an n-type semiconductor. And when sunlight hits the semiconductor, an electron spring ups, and it is attracted towards the n-type, and this cause more negative in the n-type semiconductor and more positive in the p-type, thus generating a higher flow of electricity. This is called the photovoltaic effect, and we are utilizing through the solar PV panel. We are trying to produce the power. We are trying to get the we are trying to accumulate, we are trying to utilize these electron movements with the aid of any additional resources, whether it might be a battery or it might be a load, it might be various load conditions. We are trying to utilize these electron passage, and this is what when the sunlight hits the solar panel, we are trying to produce power. Now, there are n number of factors which influencing this solar PV cells. There are plenty of informations we need to discuss with these solar PV panel. We will one by one we will crack what was the things which is available in solar PV cells and solar photovoltaic and solar panels. And we'll begin these contents with the flat plate collectors, that is low temperature system. We will start with the solar heater, how the solar heater works, and then we'll talk about the cylindrical parabolic concentrating collector, and then slowly we'll move on to solar power plant, which is suited in California, and then we'll talk about the solar cell. Arun, please check whether it was recording or not. Arun? Arun?
Yes, sir.
I have started the recording, whether it was recording. Check with the top whether it was recording.
I'm using mobile phone, so I can't.
Even the mobile phone, you can check if it is in red color. It might be.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it is recording.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. This was the principal construction working of the solar cell, and the solar cell, or based on the principle of photovoltaic effect, it works. The photovoltaic effect is the photo generation of charge carriers in the light absorbing material as the results of absorption of light radiation. And when we are concerning about radiation, there are three different types of radiations broadly classified. We'll discuss one by one what are the three different types and how it affects the various layers, how we are trying to produce power, how these three different radiations or three different types of rays will affect the three different layers that we'll discuss one by one. The concerning the construction, the solar cell, that is crystalline silicon, consists of N-type semiconductor, which considered as an emitter. The layer and the P-type of semiconductor, which considered as an base. The two layers are sandwiched, and hence there is a formation of PN junction. The surface is coated with anti-reflection coating in order to avoid the loss of incidental light energy due to the reflection. A proper metal contacts are made on the N-type and P-type, the semiconductor for electrical connection. And when solar panel exposed to the sunlight, the light energy, see very importantly, we are not discussing about the heat energy. The light energized or observed by the semiconducting material, and due to this absorbed energy, the electrons liberated and produce the external DC current. The DC current is converted into AC, and we are utilizing with various home appliances. The electron that leaves the solar cells are current give up their energy to whatever is connected to the solar cell, and then re-enters to the solar cells. Once back in the solar cell, the process begins again. And the mechanism: first, the sunlight is absorbed by the solar cell in the panel. The absorbed light causes electrons in the metal to increase in energy, at the same time making them free to move around the material, and these electrons remains at the higher energy for only shorter time before returning to their original energy portion, and therefore to collect the carriers before they lost the energy gained from the light, PN junction is typically used. And this was the working principle of solar energy. And we are keeping the n-type semiconductor at the top, and the p-type would be at the bottom. And the junctions, from the junctions we are trying to the electron passage starts, and when the sun rises passes over the n-type, and the electron passage starts, and we are trying to utilize those with various accessories and appliances. And this is what the solar heater using the flat plate collector, and water or any fluid which can be heated to low temperature up to 80 degrees Celsius by using the solar radiation. The solar heater use a flat plate collector. The solar heater is used in the houses, hotels, and etc. And this was the pictorial representation, and in which the top cover is made up of glass. See, will first we'll crack the nomenclatures, and then we'll discuss what is happening here. And see here the transparent glass cover, and solar radiation. The solar radiation is observed here, and we are having the flat observer plate, and water tubes are inserted, and we have the thermal insulation over the water tubes, and the cold water inlet provided here, and the hot water outlet, we can observe the hot water. And this was the sectional view of the solar water heater. And it usually it kept in some inclined position now to observe the heat energy. As I said earlier, the top cover is made up of glass, and it is transparent to the incoming solar radiation. The radiation energy of the sun falls on the flat metal, whether it might be aluminum or steel or a copper, and which observer plate coated with the black paint, which is having a high observing capacity. The flat plate is placed facing the radiation of the sun, and which is inclined to the horizontal. When the radiation strikes the observer plate, the heat energy is reflected back to the glass cover, and the cover reflects the energy back to the observer plate. And the copper tubes are provided in the thermal contact with the flat plate, and heat is transferred from the observer plate to water, which is circulated in the copper tube through the flat plate collector, and the thermal insulation is provided around the tubes to prevent the heat loss. Insulation material would be a glass wool, and therefore through that we are getting the due to conduction and convection, we are getting the hot water from the outlet. Can anyone please remind what is mean by conduction, convection, and then radiation? You please unmute your mic and tell me what is conduction, what is convection, and what is radiation. What is the difference in these three? Can anyone please? Can anyone? Arvind Bush. Arvind Bush. Shirang Bhatia.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What is conduction? What is convection? What is radiation?
Sir, these all are process of sir. Conduction is heat transfer through body to body when it is in touch with body to body,
Okay.
Basically energy is transmitted. Then radiation is through
Convection,
air.
convection, and then radiation.
Okay. Uh, Convection, I'm not sure, sir.
Convection.
Sir, convection is transfer of energy in liquid, sir.
Okay. Okay.
And radiation is transfer of thermal energy through thermal emission.
Okay. When the heat transfer occurring from one liquid to another liquid, then that is also called as an convection. Okay. Anyway, fine, fine, fine. But yeah, fine. Okay. Listen, we can approach these conduction, convection, radiation in a different way. When there is an heat transfer within a medium, that is then that is called as in conduction. Between two different mediums, then that is called convection. If it is without an medium, then that is called as radiation. As I said by Bhatia, when within a medium, it should have a physical contact. Therefore, the heat transfer will occur from molecule by molecule. You assume you are trying to prepare a coffee. What happens by you are trying to have your milk in some vessel? What happens? The heat transfer from the bottommost when you are keeping with some heat source, not probably the induction stove. We are talking about the gas and other heat sources. What happened? The heat is transferred from the bottommost molecule to the topmost. That the heat transfer in the outer the vessel would be conduction. When it was fully heated, what happens? The heat is transferred to the milk. That transferring from the solid to liquid phase is nothing but convection. And what happens? The heat liberated from the top layer of the milk to the atmosphere, it would be also considered as a convection. And like that, you can prepare your tea or coffee. And this is what the conduction, convection, radiation. We need to remember these principles, that is within medium, between two different mediums, and without a medium. These you should remember during these solar photovoltaic. And again, we'll talk about the this was the second title, that is parabolic concentrated collector, that is medium temperature system. And the picture details the parabolic collector and parabolic concentrated collector. And which is a reflecting type. The reflecting surface is a, cylindrical parabolic mirror. And the sun rays strikes the parabolic mirror. What happens? It will reflected on its focal point. See, this is what the conical, we have the conical portion, and cylindrical, it concentrating on one particular point. And this would be the concentrated focal point of the bottom region. And the fluid is observed, the fluid in the observer tube. This is called the observer tube, kept along the focal line, is heated to a very high temperature. And the temperature of the observer fluid is very much higher than in the flat plate collector. And the reflector is steered using a chain or driven mechanism. And here the chain driven mechanism is not shown in the figure. During daytime, to keep the sunlight focused on the collector, this system can convert the water to superheated steam, and which can be used to drive the prime mover, and which is further utilized for producing the power. It can also use heat transfer fluid. And other than water, at low for industrial process also, we can use this type of parabolic concentrated collector. large parabolic concentrators are subject to large wind loads, and hence they require a very strong supporting structures. And for this reason the parabolic collectors are not used for solar energy power generation, and an alternative to steering the concentrator is to use large flat plate mirrors. And the cost factor along with the advantage of the fixed working surface make flat mirrors common in modern parabolic solar collectors. And this was the solar power plant, and which is in tower concept. And see, this was the figure which is in layout of the solar power plant using the tower concept. In this, a large field of reflecting mirrors called heliostats. Heliostats are used. Helio, which means in Greek, which is the word which is equivalent to helio means sun. The heliostats, and will first we will crack the various nomenclatures, and we have boilers. Boilers at the top, that is central receiver, and around it we have various reflectors, that is heliostats. Solar incident radiation, which is reflected to the central receiver, and we have here the water is elevated to a very high temperature, which is called as in superheated condition. It was heated, and the superheated steam is utilized in the turbine, which is connected to the generator. Through that we are getting the power, and the other principle are very similar to that of these steam power plant. And see, this was the real picture. And see here, in the around the central tower we have various reflectors. These reflectors are usually called as an heliostats, and through that what we are going to do, we are going to utilize these reflection in one particular point, one concentrating point. In that we are trying to elevate the temperature of the water. Through that elevated temperature, it is converted into steam. That steam is used to drive the prime mover. This was the basic principle of this solar furnace or solar power plant in tower concept. And the boiler, which is also known as central receiver, in particular to this case, which is mounted on the top, around it would be 500 meters height, and the heliostats are individually guided to focus the sun energy on the boiler at all hours of sunlight. And the individual guidance is necessary because the heliostats are placed in the large field, and in the early 1980s, the first series large experimental electricity generation schemes were built to make use of high temperature, and several were of the central receiver system of the power tower type. The 10 megawatt solar one system of Brayston, which is situated in California, that was given in this picture. It was an prototype. It was a pilot study, which is available in California, and the system has its own merits and demerits. We will discuss once the working principle are over. We will discuss that too. In the boiler, the circulating water absorbs the solar energy and vaporizes into steam. Around 300 degrees Celsius, the steam is used to run the turbine, and the turbine is coupled to the generator. The exhaust steam from the turbine is collected in the condenser, and see here we have the condenser here, and the thermal storage system provided for night time and cloudy period, not to work during that time, not to work with a turbine, we are having the thermal storage system. The boiler is designed to give the higher output than the required for steam generation. The excess energy during periods of greatest solar incidence is bypassed to the solar thermal storage system. And during the period of low or no solar incidence, the feed water is not sent to the boiler, and instead it is shut down. Instead it is transferred to the storage system, where it is converted into steam to run the turbine. And these tower concept solar panels or plants are to be located in the hot, dry desert areas, and where we have these sun energies available in plenty. On the other hand, the other resources we need to concentrate over the other resources called water. And again, there might be a water scarce, and therefore for cooling the condenser water is not used in the cooling tower. Condenser water is cooled by air in the dry cooling tower. Here we have dry cooling tower. There won't be any additional water sprayed over here, and this was cooled by the atmospheric air alone. And as I said earlier, the California 10 megawatt pilot plant is installed, and this is what the system. And any clarity over this tower system, tower concept, or any clarification with
Uh,
this? Yes, yes, yes.
the Californian solar furnace is like having yearly problems.
Yes, of course,
Like
of course. Mm.
many birds die in that place because of the concentration of solar light.
Yes, yes, yes,
Annually, around 6,000 birds dies.
yes, yes.
So,
Maitri.
in a way,
Mm.
it is like disturbing the wildlife in the desert.
Yes, yes. You please go through some other details of whether it was suited near the living organism.
So, like California is known for like migrations of birds and also. So, like over there, like many birds, like when they go for migration, they die in the desert area in California.
Yes. Then
Like
then
even now there are like cases reported annually, like around 6,000 birds are like dying again. They burn spontaneously, sir. Like they turn into ash. So it's like that powerful, the concentration of solar energy.
yes, 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 yes. As an engineer, what we can do is it has to be avoided. It has to be taken into account, and we need to be conscious over these incidents. And the number is very huge. Even the number is very minimal to we should avoid such an issue. And how, as an engineer, what was your suggestion to avoid these accidents?
So like first thing, like we can restrict that area by like not letting birds go near that place. So, like maybe we can like it's actually in the center that the birds, like when they fly on top of it, they die instantaneously.
Hmm.
So maybe like we can like find a solution to like avoid birds flying that way, like putting physical barriers or something.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But still they didn't find a solutions for this, sir. It's like no solution like available for that.
But putting a physical barrier can like restrict the sunlight also.
Is
Yes, sir. So
putting
like
the
they didn't
physical
like find a
barriers
particular.
only feasible because it covers a very larger area.
Yeah, and they fly at higher heights, and like when will put barriers, then sunlight would be restricted to reach to this place.
Yes, yes, yes. The only thing is the
Maybe they can
appropriate.
implement
Yes,
the right,
yes,
like
yes.
in parks and all, they keep scarecrows and all, something like that they can do perhaps.
No, no, it is not. Not your voice is not clear. Not so clear. Yes,
Maybe like
unmute and
like in farms, they keep scarecrows. They can do something like that.
someone, please get the information. Please share. Still, there
He's
is.
saying
I
that
am
like
unable.
scarecrow and something which we use in the fields where we cultivate. So that kind of thing we can try. He's saying.
In the
Sir, or
agriculture.
else like we can use like frequency generators like to like not let the birds fly near the place. When like the birds can't like withstand a particular amount of frequency, so if we fix frequency towers near the place, birds won't come near the place.
Yes, yes, that we can do, but that will also harm the birds, isn't it?
Sir,
Yes, sir,
Anyway,
but
otherwise
there's
we
like
can make
not a
any
better
other
solution.
sound.
yes, someone, yes.
Otherwise we can make any other sound which is disturbing birds.
Yes,
So it's
this is what the past discussion is essential in order to iterate such a very huge incidents or very in order to avoid these accidents. These discussions are encouraged. Yes, of course, very good. The proper selection of sites can avoid such a
yes, sir.
huge
Like
loss.
we are using the place where animals used to live, like birds used to fly. So it's our fault. Like we are planting our furnace and all at at this area. So first of all, it's our fault, and we can't actually
Yes.
restrict them to live somewhere else, right? So we should find a right place to set up and install our furnace and everything.
Yeah, yes, of course, of course. It would be the anyway. You go ahead. Whether it was suited near the load center, I think might be it might be. I hope when it was erected in a desert areas and that too with a field study. Whether these passages, whether it won't be a passage of the birds and that might be not to have a very detailed field visit and then the erection would be would can avoid such a huge uh, accidents and that is what we can suggest.
Sir,
Yes, anyway, go ahead with that content. You might train in the subsequent class. You search with these patas in Breston, California. Whether it is located near the load center. You please do the search and tell me, and you please come up with some other solutions too. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes, yes. And the some other topics also very nice, interesting to related to these the solar. And I give a title. You go ahead and you come up with the various lectures related to solar chimney which is suited in Spain. Solar chimney. You Google it and try to come up with a very good idea of solar chimney. When time permits, we will discuss about these solar chimneys and any other discussions. It was fine. Any other?
sir, but some country doesn't have desert areas also. What they will do, sir?
No, no, no. Those who are having the deserts, they can erect these type of power plants. Those who are not having the desert, they need to utilize other resources. And even we have the photovoltaic system, and other there are plenty of information related to solars.
Sir, also like solar panels are like they used to tell that it's not that efficient because the output is like not that much, sir. Now
Yes, yes.
like the scientists are like researching on solar panels. They are like using some metal halides and ions they're like doping with the present silicon, and they're like replacing some constituents to make it like 20% more efficient or something.
Yes, there are plenty of research going on related to these solars and standalone solar cells, and some addition with that the nano. Now we are the current decade concentrating on nano materials, and nano coolants are provided around the solar cells, and they are trying to increase the efficiency. There are enormous research. There are wide scope for research in the area of solar. The thing is, what happens in the past discussions also I have highlighted, and how we are unable to replace these solar panels. That was the major issue. That the scientists are now struggling to rejuvenate these utilized material now to come with newer solar panel that they are struggling. And that was an interesting topic to study with that. And if you are interested, you go ahead with that. And how we can collect the past the outdated solar panels, how we can recycle it, how we can able to produce the newer solar panels. That was the issue. Or producing newer solar panels is entirely different. How we can in a positive way without the environmental issue, how we can destruct these the outdated solar PV panels. That was the issue. And you try to study with that, and there are papers are available. And now we'll continue with these lectures. That is, this was the solar cell, and this was the typical diagram. And these we were already discussed. Anyway, I'll refresh those contents. The direct conversion of solar energy converts the electricity with the aid of solar PV effect. And the basic unit of the PV system is the solar cell, and the solar cell is made up of a single crystalline silicon. The solar cell is a semiconductor device which generates the voltage from the sunlight. When it falls over the panel, it try to the electron passage is happening, and the power obtained in a daytime, which is stored in the battery and further utilized. And we have where the configuration of the solar cell to form the PN junction semiconductor is provided here. And the N type the silicon with added materials, such as whether it might be a phosphorus or arsenic, is called as an N type, and which is considered as negative charge silicon. And the silicon which is added with boron is called P type, which is positive charge silicon. The charge distribution near the PN junction gives rise to an electrical field, and hence a potential difference across the junction happening, and it was utilized if an external load is applied. This charge difference will drive a current through it, and the current flow so long as the sunlight keeps generating the electron pass. And there are plenty of applications are available where we can utilize the solar cells, whether it might be a your calculator, or irrigation pumps, or TV station, or satellites, or rail crossing signals, or navigational signals, or spacecraft, etc. We are using these solar cells, or photovoltaic cells, and it has various advantage. And we'll discuss the advantage, and then the demerits will highlight. And the sun is an essentially an infinite source of energy, and the solar energy is very large, inexhaustible, and renewable source of energy. And it is environmentally very clean, and hence that there won't be any population. That is a population free source of energy. It is a dependable energy source without new requirements of highly technical and specialized nature for its widespread utilization. And for a hot country like India, it is the best alternative to rapid depletion of fossil fuels, and it is freely available, and no transportation problem or transmission and distribution losses. And on the other hand, we have demerits. It is available in the in a dilute form, and is at a low potential. The intensity of solar energy on sunny day in India is about 1.1 kilowatt per square meter area. Hence, very large collecting areas are required. And this is what the initial problem with these researchers. The larger area is essential for producing a smaller power, and also the dilute and diffused nature of the solar energy needs large land area for the for plant. For instance, the 30-kilometer area is required for solar power plant to replace the nuclear power plant of 1 kilometer side. See, for replacing the 1 square kilometer site, we are in need of 30 square kilometer concerning the solar cell. And so the capital cost is more for the solar plant, and the energy is not available at night or during cloudy or rainy days. And this is what about the solar cells. Subsequently, we are going to discuss about the horizontal axis windmill, and this is what our subsequent topic. And yes, we'll in a on the fly we will see what is there with these windmill, and in the subsequent class we will discuss little more. Yes, any other discussions? Any doubts with the solar cell? See, there is a standalone panel. A single panel is provided in order to study or in order to get the power. That is called as a standalone solar cell. It is alone with a single panel. And there are few researchers are trying to concentrate over the standalone PV panel. And any clarification with this solar cell? I hope there won't be any doubts. See what all the nomenclatures related to windmill. We have the double blade rotor. We have hub now to connect these blades with the shaft, and we have the gearbox, and we have control device and generator. The entire setup is called as an windmill head and tower. The supporting structures is called as an tower. And when we are instead of the prime move is we have blades. We are trying these plants are erected where we have the larger winds. At that time, at that places are suited now to erect these windmills. Concerning Tamil Nadu, we have various at Thoothukudi and Tirunelveli, and those areas we are having the windmills. And we are trying to utilize the natural source by way of providing the structures, fan structures, and that's all about it. Nothing more than that. It is air motion. Wind flow is an effect of solar heat, and winds are caused due to the absorption of solar energy on the Earth's surface and rotation of the Earth about its own axis and around the sun. Because of this, alternate heating and cooling occurs. Thus difference in the pressure is applied, and the air movement is caused. It is estimated that roughly 10 million megawatt of energy is continuously available in the earth winds, and the flowing wind possesses we know it possesses kinetic energy, and this kinetic energy is utilized with the aid of prime mover, and wind will slow down the mass of moving air like a sail or propeller, and extracts part of this energy and converts into useful work. and a windmill converts the wind energy into mechanical energy, and exit velocity of the wind in the windmill is equal to 1/3 of the entrance velocity. The power in wind increases with the cube of the wind speed. And windmills are used for pumping water or grinding grains, etc. Inserts in large scale power generation had developed over the past 50 years, and the types of windmills usually it is classified as an horizontal axis type and vertical axis type. The horizontal axis type has better performance than the vertical type. The horizontal axis windmills are further classified into single blade and double bladed and multi blade types. And horizontal axis windmills, the propelled type with counterweight arrangements, and the double blade type gives a better performance than the single blade. And here the double blade windmills are provided in this picture, and the windmill's head is mounted on the blade plate, or on a bed plate attached on the top of the tower. The windmill head accommodates a step-up gearbox. In order to increase the rotational speeds, we are having the gearbox, and the central device and generator or subsequent device or utensils we are having in the windmill head, and the blade rotor drives the generator through the transmission gearbox, and the two blades have a thick cross section of an aerofoil made of aluminum or sheet metal. The blades are set at right angles to the direction of the wind, and the energy inherent in the moving air is converted into mechanical energy. And due to the dynamic action of the air of blades, this mechanical energy is transmitted to the generator to the gearbox, and the output generator is connected to the load. And with rotor, the tower is also subject to the wind loads, which may cause serious damage. Hence, the structure of the tower should withstand the wind load. And in order to withstand these wind loads, the appropriate design and installation is essential. The best site for wind energy are found offshore and along sea coast, with no tall obstruction in the neighboring area, and the lowest level wind energy is found in plains. The production of capacity of windmills around in Tamil Nadu around 300 to 350 megawatt, and it has its own merits and demerits. Any clarification in these windmills? And we'll discuss the merits and demerits of this wind turbine in the subsequent class. And yes, any clarification with wind turbines?
No, sir.
Yes. Yes, Hari Prasad. Hari Prasad, please unmute your mic, Hari Prasad.
Yes, sir.
Hari Prasad, I have given one new title in solar. What was the title, Hari Prasad?
Sorry.
Yes, this is what happening. Solar chimney.
Yeah. You said to search about solar chimney.
Yes, Hari Prasad. Are you ready? Are you ready to do the search, and are you willing to disseminate those contents?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, good, Hari Prasad. Yes, Ayyappan.
Yes, sir.
Ayyappan, you can. Are you ready to join with Hari Prasad to discuss about these solar chimney?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it was very tiny, and you can get it through Google. You can get it. We have only one prototype, that too with the Spain, and you can get the information. It will take very fewer minutes.
Yes, sir.
Any other current affair? With the current affair, we can wind up today's session. I'm stopping the recording.